Hi, my name is Cindy Rang with the Fabric Patch in Ephrata, Washington. Today we are out at condo number 1 of our retreat center. We're going to do a really quick tour, but mostly we're here for a trunk show of 16 quilts, 2 projects, and one very special thing at the end. My daughter and I have owned and operated a busy quilt shop in Washington State for over 20 years. We have a retreat center, an active YouTube channel, and a large pattern line featuring our creations. My 2 sons work on machines. One daughter-in-law is our videographer and the other is a long-arm quilter. We are a family that love each other, we laugh together, and every once in a while we get some work done. We have a crew that are saints for their efforts at keeping us on track. Thanks for joining us on our wild ride. All right, so those of you that are friends of our channel, you have already been out to the retreat center multiple times. You've seen some of the other bungalows, maybe the event center, and maybe one of the other condos. We are in condo number 1. All of the condos look the same. They're just turned a little bit different, but they all have a 4-piece kitchen, great big huge glass door, living room, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So the floor plan is basically the same, nothing super exciting. We do rent out our retreat center and condos to groups. You have to be either quilters or scrapbookers. We've even had some knitters out here, but we don't do it for family reunions, weddings, anything like that. There's not a lot of availability because the people who book every single year. And sometimes we host our own retreats where if you don't have 8 or 9 friends that want to come with you, you can come either with a buddy that you will share a room with, or you'll meet a new buddy and we'll introduce you to everybody else that's come to the same retreat. Our retreats do go on sale on January 15th of every year. We host 5 retreats per year, so you'll want to be on our newsletter list so that you are notified and reminded of that. And you can sign up for our newsletter at fabricpatch.net. All right, so again, we have been slowly working our way through the shop, through the retreat center, just to show you some of our over 300 quilts that we have that we've either pieced from our own patterns or from other people's patterns. A lot of the ones out here are our own or some other kind of special projects. So we're going to start with what's on the quilt ladder right here. Okay, so this quilt really doesn't have a pattern. If there's something that you want that's similar to it, I would say Stacks is the most similar. Stacks has a center square that I think is about 5.5 inches, and then you put another border around it. This one is similar to that, except that what I did is I started with either a square of something that I had printed, or a picture, or a color, put a border around it, and I trimmed this to 8.5 inches. And then I went ahead and put one more 2.5-inch strip all the way around it. All of these blocks then are 12.5 inches. I put them together, put kind of a mixed border on it, and I was done. But what's fun about this quilt is that it's a photo quilt. So the easiest way to make a photo quilt is with a product called EQ Printables, and we've linked it below. And EQ Printables is a treated fabric that measures 8.5 by 11. So all you do is you just get all of your pictures kind of arranged on your desktop or laptop, whatever you're using. And in your printer, you just put this EQ Printables in the way that it's going to print on top of the fabric side, and you print out your sheet. It does have like a piece of something similar to freezer paper that's on the back of it. And all you do is as you heat it, that freezer paper will come off, and what you have is this nice permanently printed fabric to use however you'd like. So what I did with this one is, of course, all of these pictures of the 3 kids. So Brianna is in here in the tub somewhere. And then it's mostly pictures, though, of my youngest son. And we also added the toddler property laws. And we did go ahead and print these up, the toddler property laws, in blocks, so that if you wanted to do something similar to this, there isn't like a panel or anything, but we made them for you. or you can just print off your own, but it's kind of fun. I'm just going to read them to you because I'm not sure if you can see them from that far away, but these are toddler property laws, and anybody who's the mother of a toddler can appreciate this. So I think that there's 10. If I like it, it's mine. If I saw it first, it's mine. If it's in my hand, it's mine. If I can take it from you, it's mine. If I had it a little while ago, it's mine. If it's mine, it must never appear to be yours in any way. If I'm building something, all of the pieces are mine, and if it looks like mine, it is mine. There's 8. So anyway, toddler property laws, we do have that available on the printed EQ printables if that's something you're interested in, or type up your own, or stitch it in a sampler for a new mom. Some of the other ones, let's do this one first. We have a couple of Minky quilts out here. We talk about Minky a lot. We love it. And this one, I know you can't tell how heavy this is, but this one happens to have a batting in it, and it's Minky on the front and Minky on the back. We do have a video that we can probably, I don't think it's coming out until next week, but we're doing a very specific demonstration about how to load Minky onto a long arm. And so we'll show you that. What we do have is this video we can link below about doing an easy quilt as you go Minky quilt out of strips. So this is one of those where all you're doing is you lay down your piece of Minky, put your other one right sides together, and as you sew through both layers, the batting and the backing, what you're doing is it looks like you're stitching in the ditch as you're sewing everything together, because on the back you can see that it's all been quilted. So you can do the whole thing without a long arm, add your batting afterwards. So if you look at the back, you can see all of those lines. It looks like they're quilting lines. Can you see that? Not so much. Not so much at all. Well, there's lines there, and they correlate to when you're sewing those strips together. Again, if it doesn't make sense, we have a video that shows the whole thing. It's super simple. We have lots of kits that we've put together and that Shannon has put together, the maker of this fabric, so that you can whip these out pretty quickly. This is another one, same idea. And you can see that you can do large pieces or small pieces, cut them in half. Same idea. And these quilts are about 60 by 70. So it takes about 2 yards of Minky for the back. And then last on the ladder, before we go into the rooms, this one is called Double Diamond. This is one of Brianna's patterns. And I believe that she has a really quick free tutorial of this one coming up. If it's not this week, it's next week. So we can't link it below yet. But again, if you subscribe to our channel or subscribe to our newsletter, you would be able to find that. But it's just a free tutorial. The pattern, though, I think you can find either below or on our website. It's a really quick kind of a foundation piece. This one is a very small one. I think in the video she shows you a couple of examples of this quilt. She's done some really large ones. It's a really nice way to use up a fabric that you just don't want to cut up, something that's very specific. All right, we're going to move the lights and the camera, and we're going to come into our first bedroom. Okay, we are in the first bedroom of condo number 1, and this is the one that has the attached bathroom with the stackable washer and dryer back there. And this is kind of our Elizabeth Taylor bedroom. So I'm going to show you the quilts in here. But first I want to show you the 2 quilts that usually reside up in the closet. The first one is a jelly roll race. This one is one that we put together a very long time ago. And instead of using complete strips with the jelly roll, we had all kinds of weird leftover bits of strips left. Because at the time I was working on a courthouse steps quilt, and I cut way too many pieces, lots of leftover strips. And so I had a lot of strips that were 14 inches long and 12 inches long. And so they just couldn't be used for anything else. So we sewed them all together. And you can see the other thing that we did, just to kind of mix it up a little bit, is we put some orange squares in there just for fun. But this quilt was put together the exact same way as the other jelly roll race. The other thing, if you can tell,
is that these are 2-inch strips instead of 2.5. And so it just gives a little bit more movement because there's more pieces, partly because of the size and because of the length that we cut them. So it's a nice way to use up leftover bits if you cut something wrong. The other thing I want to show you about this quilt, and I'm not sure if it's going to translate through the camera very well, but we've talked before about backings. And I tend to pick my backings from clearance fabric. It's just an easy way to get 5 yards of fabric. It's just a little bit less expensive, but I still think that it's important to put something on the back that you love that really shows off the front of the quilt. This is the quilt that I've talked about multiple times that I really wished I would have made a different decision. It might look like this goes with this fabric in the camera, but it really doesn't. This quilt is all batik. It's all very bright, kind of vibrant. And the fabric that's on the back is kind of this very dull. I mean, it was just one that was in clearance because nobody really liked the color. And I went ahead and put it on. So once I was done, I wished I didn't, because sometimes it's nice when you get a bargain, but if you get a bargain and you're really not happy with the results, that few dollars per yard that you saved might not really have been worth it. So lesson learned for me. I still love the quilt, but I wish I had an exciting backing on it. The other quilt that lives in the closet in here for people to be able to use if they need it is this old pineapple quilt. Now, pineapple quilt blocks have been around for a very long time. There's all kinds of ways to do it. We have kind of a fun technique that at some point early next year we're going to show you, but probably the most common way to make it is with a paper piece block. And if you can see, the block is right here. This is the center of the block and the pineapple goes out. So we do have paper piecing sheets that will do it. I think there's a few more rows on this one perhaps than the one that we have, but pineapple quilts have been out for a very long time. This quilt is probably about 50 years old. So nice 30s fabric, which I love, but that's what that one is. Also in here, let's look at this side first. This is Harper's quilt. If you've watched any of the quilts from our series called Every Quilt Has a Story, I believe this was the 3rd quilt featured. Sabrina Strong, who's worked for us for years and years, made this quilt for Harper. This was supposed to be for Harper's big girl bed, but unfortunately she got it when she was an infant and we abducted it. So it has been in here for a few years. Harper knows it's here and someday she'll get it back. But in the meantime, we just love looking at it. It kind of goes with the aesthetic in here. We've got different Elizabeth Taylor things in here. I'm looking at a sign that says, pour yourself a drink, put on some lipstick, and pull yourself together. Signed Elizabeth Taylor. We just love the pink, the sparkle, and so we love that quilt in here. The quilt that's on the foot of this bed, we talk a lot about minky back. This is a minky. And so the fact that this color is just right, we actually have this quilt folded featuring the back of the quilt. But what this quilt is, I think this quilt is, I think it's called SOS. Not so great about that because I think it's dashes and O's, but I think that's what it's called. It was made using some panel blocks. This fabric is no longer available, but it's kind of fun because if you have some panel blocks and something you want to feature, it's a pretty quilt. And it's just fun where you just have just a dash of color sometimes. Black and white quilts can be really stunning and really show off the other piece that you want to show. This one is our very first employee at the Fabric Patch was Thelma Wentworth. She's no longer with us. This is the quilt that she made for Brianna and Robert for their wedding quilt. I think it's been 5 years ago now. So anyway, it is a Bargello heart. The pattern is not available, but Thelma has made a bunch of these. She made these for most of us. But anyway, so we love this and we love thinking of Thelma when we see this quilt. All right, so this was bedroom number 1. We're going to move on to the next bedroom.
All right, so we are in the second bedroom of condo number 1, and this is the 30s room. This is one of my favorite. I love that it's just such bright fabrics, whether it is reproduction fabrics that are meant to look like the 30s or the original 30s fabric. There's something kind of special about it, and I love a baby quilt out of 30s fabric. This one is from 1930. This one is from 1930, so it's not quite 100 years old. A really nice, I'm just going to go ahead and take it off. We have these in here for people to see. A lot of times when you have antique quilts, what we tell everybody is that you should use them and love them and look at them and think about the person that made them. And so we do put them out. We don't really use them on the beds anymore because they're not going to take a whole lot more laundering because they were used a lot. Quilts were not art pieces. They weren't hung on the wall. They were not put up in the closet. They were used every single day, washed and hung outside to dry. So you can see that this one has a lot of wear. And in fact, we have another video that'll be posting next week about antique quilts, how to repair them, how to use them, how to quilt them. But this one is a double wedding ring from 1930. This one is a Dresden plate. That one was all hand quilted. This one is all hand quilted. This one is also from 1930. Dresden plate, and there are, I think there are 14 different plates on here. All hand done. Even the stitching here is an embroidery chain in all of the different colors. That's beautiful. This one is from 1910, and this one is just a 9, not just, but this one is a 9 patch. Very simple, just a red and white, all hand quilted, hand pieced. Fun to look at. I can fix that. So this quilt, the name escapes me at this very moment, but by the time we have the editing done, it will be broadcast at the bottom of your screen. It's something cross. Pretty simple, old-fashioned pattern, easy to do. And also on the bed is some hand embroidery. When you're doing hand embroidery blocks, there's a couple of things you can do. One thing is, of course, if you don't want to put it into a quilt, you can certainly turn it into a pillow. A pillow with an envelope back is always a nice idea. This up here is just a crazy quilt. And we were doing this one back when we did a crazy quilt class. It's just little bits with some fun hand embroidery on it. Fun 30s fabrics. Really pretty. And then we'll go over and we'll show you this other quilt, but in fact, let me take this with me and I'm going to show you what's on the other bed. I'm a fan of hand embroidered blocks. I love to embroider, and I might do wall hangings or mug rugs or quilts, centers for quilts, but pillows are a really nice special thing that you can do. You can change these out seasonal depending upon what it is that you've stitched. The other thing that you can do is you can mount them. We have a video that's going to be posting, I believe, the first week in December about how to mount something that you've made, whether it's a small quilt that you don't want to quilt, a block that you've made, even a panel for a advent calendar. We're going to show you how to put that on a canvas frame. And that's what this one is. The other thing is right here for this quilt, this one has a, are you able to see it from there, Brittany? This one has a center embroidered block. And then we did some churn dash blocks. And this was just one of those quilts that we did that we did a round robin was what it was. So I started with this centerpiece and gave all of my fabric to my friends, put it all in a bag, and it went around for 6 months, and then I got this back. So the first person did 6 churn dash blocks, put it at the front and the bottom, put everything back in the box, gave it to the next person. The next person put some 9 patches in the corners and a nice little clear white border, put it all back in the box, gave it to the next person. The next person put a cute little color changer on it and then added all of these spool blocks all the way around. Gave it to the next person. The next person put on this really cool yellow block and then did just sort of a mix of, there is some simple blocks and then some 4 patches and then the last border. So it's one of those fun things that if you've done a round robin with somebody, and I think we even have a video about how to start one of those. It's fun if there's a group of friends, maybe you used to get together and quilt and now maybe not so much. It's something that you guys can keep it for about a month, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever you decide, send it around to each other, and then you get a quilt that's made by all of your friends. The last thing that I want to show you in this room is this pillow. So we have, again, there's all sorts of videos to watch afterwards, but we did a video with Laura Estes, and she showed how she makes her ruching flowers using her tools. This is a fantastic pillow that features all of her tools. So she has the ruched flower in the center, and then the coin ruching that goes all the way around, and then the medium coin ruching, the large, and then that's even what's in the edge is more of that coin ruching. So you'll have to check that video out. It's a really fast, simple handwork technique. In fact, the chunkier your stitch, the better. It doesn't take a whole lot of skill, just a bunch of either strips of fabric or I think the measurement is 7 3/4 inch circles. Okay, I have one last special thing I want to show you, but we're going to go into one more room. All right, this is the bathroom of, well, one of the bathrooms of condo number 1. And this is my Tula pink shower curtain. We've talked about this a couple times, again, if you watch our box openings or our Wednesday morning fabric chats, but Tula Pink years ago when she did Prince Charming, she had this fabric line and she printed some special backings. And these were 60 by 60. They were relatively expensive, but I went ahead and bought one, and then I loved it so much I never wanted to put it on the back of a quilt. I just didn't want to stitch through it, so I saved it and saved it and saved it. And finally, when we were putting together this bathroom, I thought, oh, who would really appreciate a backing like this except a quilter? So we went ahead and put it in here, and people love to see it because it is really pretty special. And if you're a Tula Pink fan, you know exactly what it is the second that you see it. All right, I think that will do it. Thanks for joining us as we went through a mini tour of unit number 1 and a trunk show of all 16 quilts, plus a couple of extra little bonus projects. Enjoy all of the links below. I know that's a lot to look at, but hopefully we've given you some inspiration, and thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for watching our video. We invite you to leave a comment, hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also visit our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest pages, or find all of those things and our online store at fabricpatch.net.